Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Who's ready for a road trip? We are. It may be cold outside depending on where you are, but we are ready to rev our engines and to get ready for a road trip on the historic Jefferson-Highway in 2023. So welcome to part one of Big Blend Radio special Jefferson-Highway show. We're airing live and covering over 23 must-visit destinations on and off the historic highway that runs from Winnipeg in Manitoba, Canada, and goes all the way to New Orleans, Louisiana. So we have two parts of the show because, I don't know, we got a little crazy about it. So
road trip.
This is the live portion, and then right after that, we have a little half-hour break, and then we have a second part. Both of these shows actually cover every single state on the trail. So we've got Winnipeg on both shows, Winnipeg, Canada, and Manitoba. We've got Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana, and we've got music. Second show has music and Hollywood history. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. The Jefferson Highway is amazing. It was created through the Jefferson Highway Association, and this was all started in 1915. And the highway is back on, babies. I mean, there's signs going up, historic markers. People are getting the message that it's time to revive this highway, and it is truly happening. It is an international highway. It's known as the Pines to the Palms Highway. Right now, because of the winter storm going through, it might be the Pines and the Snow Highway, but it's really cool. And go to this website, jeffersonhighway.org. That is the association. Join as a traveler, as a tourism person. This is an incredible organization doing so much. And we are joined by Roger Bell on our show. He's the president of the association. He's on our show every fourth Thursday that is dedicated to the highway. Watch for magazine features from our Big Blend magazines coming out. So welcome back, Roger. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm looking forward to a great show tonight.
It's going to rock. And we've got our second part, too, and Arlene Gould, who got us all hooked into this highway, is back on the show. Arlene is the executive director of the Natchitoches Convention and Visitor Bureau, and Natchitoches is the oldest city in the state of Louisiana. So I encourage you to go to their website, natchitoches.com, and I'm going to spell it because how it sounds and what it's spelled like are two different things. So it's Natchitoches, Natchitoches.com. Welcome back, Miss Arlene. How are you?
Very good, thank you, ma'am.
Hey,
good to hear from all of you all, and Roger, and looking forward to this long road trip we're about to take.
We're actually getting two road trips out of this, and you know this is all your fault and Roger's fault, both of you.
Yes, yeah. You can blame me for the Jefferson Highway to roping you all in, but isn't it fascinating and exciting?
Yeah, it is.
There's
so much. There's so much. The more I research, the deeper I get into it. I'm like, oh, man.
It's one big
so
rabbit
much.
hole.
Yeah, it is.
So, we're going to get started. We're going to start our conversation off. We've got some great guests joining us, but we're going to start off in the PEG because, you know what, that's what we have to do. So, you know what, sit back. We're going to drive. All right, so Jillian Rexfiedler is from Travel Manitoba, and she's on our second portion of the show, and she gave us a really good overview of the state, or I should say the province of Manitoba and Winnipeg. But Roger, earlier in October, we did a haunted Halloween show on the Jefferson Highway, and wouldn't you agree that we can put the Winnipeg Ghost Walk on as a must-do experience if you go to Winnipeg?
Yeah, it was a fascinating story about the different hotels there, and I mean, we got into many other things. In that amount of time, we could have talked a lot more about it, if I remember right. And we were, it's just, there was a lot of interest, and it's just one of the many fascinating things that are in Winnipeg, and it is, as the start of the highway, it has a great history on the route, and people can go there today and actually go to the marker where the start of the highway is and take your picture as you start your journey.
I love it. And the Ghost Walk, I think what's so great about Ghost Walks, and I know you lead one in Muskogee, Oklahoma, where you are, is that it really does actually tell you the history, not only just the normal history, right? It tells you the paranormal history, which means gossip. Nancy, you love that stuff, right? You love the story. The ghost.
It's Winnipeg's longest running supernatural themed walking tour.
Yeah.
It's been going for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's run by Matthew Comas. Everyone, we have on our YouTube page, we have a playlist for the Jefferson-Highway. So just go to youtube.com/@BigBlendRadio. Look up the playlist, and you'll be able to hear Matthew on our show with Roger, who's talking about, and Matthew is the best-selling author of Haunted Winnipeg, Haunted Manitoba, talked about Fort Garry and the Marlborough hotels. Definitely.
We got into the...
Yeah,
we got into the room there that everybody wants to book a year in advance to stay in because it was the haunted woman was in that room, and
cool.
So that and the Fort Garry was a lot of the starting point of the Jefferson-Highway runs that were done were started right there at that hotel. So. I'm looking forward to going on the ghost tour in the future, as you probably are, Lisa.
Oh, God, we are. WinnipegGhostWalk.com is the website for that. Arlene, before we go to Minnesota, I have to tell you, Sweet Cane Inn, right off of Front Street, where, just a few steps from your office, I'm telling you, there's activity in there.
Yeah.
There's activity. Things go bump in the night.
They do.
And I didn't have a boyfriend in my room. There's haunted history there. Do you have ghost people go to Natchitoches and do things ever?
Yes, not so much lately, but a couple of years ago there was a big paranormal kind of a craze going through, and we had a few people come and do some episodes and some filming and some different things. But I'm sure with as old as Natchitoches is and some of the buildings that we have, that there are, some spirits hanging around still.
Ooh, I remember Magnolia Plantation, which is part of Cane River Creole National Historical Park. The blacksmith shop has got some weird stuff going on. There's some juju in there. I'm just saying.
Yeah. There's things
I've
on
heard
the
those
door.
Stories, but there was definitely a spirit out at the old Magnolia Plantation, which is part of the Cane River Creole National Historical Park. Yep.
See, now we got
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg
Downtown too.
There's some voodoo stuff. There's voodoo stuff.
Okay, I'm just saying, we got 3 things already on this 23 list, right? We've got Winnipeg's Ghost Walk. We've got Roger's Ghost Walk and Haunted History Tours in Muskogee. We got Natchitoches with some crazy stuff, too, some haunted stuff. And now we're going to go to Minnesota, so everybody bundle up a little bit. So we're heading south. We're doing the actual trail from Winnipeg down south. So everybody stay tuned. We've got a special guest joining us to give us a little insight on what to expect. Now, you know what, with that music, I feel like somebody else was driving me, that you could just chill out and look out the windows. We're on our road trip, our Jefferson-Highway road trip, going from Winnipeg to New Orleans. We're now in Minnesota at Owatonna, I think. Now, Fort Snelling, we're covering that in the next show coming up later after this show. We have Glenda Smith, who is the director of the conventions and tourism for Owatonna, and I'm going to find out if I'm pronouncing this correctly. But go to the website, visit owatonna.org, and that's Owatonna, because I'm probably not pronouncing it right. But welcome, Glenda. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And actually, you pronounced it perfectly. I've heard a lot worse, and you were just right on spot.
No way. That's the only thing I've pronounced correctly today, because we went down to Avoyles Parish. Arlene, help me. What?
Avoyles.
Avoyles Parish, and apparently I still can't do it. So maybe I need to go to Minnesota. But welcome to the show. I know Roger's been excited. Arlene from Natchitoches Visitor Bureau in Louisiana, Nancy and I are here. We're all excited to hear about where are you actually in Minnesota when we think about driving down from Winnipeg? Are you above Minneapolis or below?
We are an hour south of Minneapolis-St. Paul, just about an hour north of the Iowa border. So kind of right in between Minneapolis-St. Paul and the Iowa border. On 35.
Oh, nice.
And the Jefferson-Highway.
We like this. And are you bundled up tonight? Because it's cold out there.
Yeah, it is. We are, last time I heard it was negative. It felt like negative 38. I don't know what the actual temperature is.
No way.
Are in a blizzard warning, I believe, right now. So,
oh my God.
Once it hits a certain temperature, it's all the same.
You're all going to
You
turn
all
into
should be down in
penguins.
Louisiana at this point. No. I'm just saying, even though it's getting a little chilly there, but this is the beauty of this highway. You can go from sunshine to snow up and down the highway.
That was the original, one of the original sayings of the highway. It's summer somewhere in the Jefferson-Highway at all times. So I don't know where the summer is right now, but I'd like to find it.
Yeah, but it was also called America's first vacation route.
Yes, it was also correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's like if you weren't going on vacation, you weren't on vacation unless you did this highway.
No, this is a great trip when I look at the north to south and everything that you get to visit in between. What a fun trip that would be.
Yeah. I know. And you could do it, bit by bit. Like people who hike the Pacific Crest Trail or the Appalachian Trail, you can do it as like one big epic adventure, or you can do bit by bit, or do it multiple times, which is kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. Tell us a little bit about Owatonna in regards to, is it a big city? How many people do you have? It looks like you have a nice downtown area.
We do. We have, it's a population of about 26,000. We have a pretty good variety of industry, and we have a few different companies that have started here. Federated Insurance is their headquarters is here in Owatonna. Wanger Corporation is our music stand and music equipment company. We have Viricon, the glass company that is a worldwide glass provider. So those are just a few of the industrial companies, but we obviously have a great rich history too. We have National Farmers Bank was a bank that was designed by Louis Sullivan in 1908 is when they got going on that, and that's a huge tourist stop. The architecture of that building is just phenomenal. And then we have the Zamboni building is on our Cedar Avenue, which Cedar Avenue is kind of our main downtown street that just had a facelift the last couple of years. So it's been fun watching the progress of that. And
awesome.
Lots of new things happening around here right now.
It seems that you've got, and listen, I want to go see your facelift guy.
Hello.
But, what's that? I said I need to see your facelift guy. I could use him. But especially this time of year. But it seems to me that culture, like the arts, also play a big role in what makes your community, Owatonna, is the arts, not just the architecture and the history, but you've got music, you've got museums, but concerts and an art center, and so that seems to be something important too.
Yeah, the music and arts is something that we're very proud of in a community. 26,000 is kind of, from where I came from, it's actually a big community, but in reference to the rest of the world, it's still fairly small. But our music talent in this community is phenomenal. We have the Owatonna Arts Center, too, which has just beautiful architecture and just a great history. It was actually part of our state school orphanage that was part of a state system, and it's built as a museum right now. You can come and walk through that and see that too. But yeah, the arts and the music, big part of our community for sure.
What about food? This is important because I don't care if it's summer or winter right now when we want to have all that comfort food and eat all the naughty things.
Right.
What's food like?
We have a great variety of a lot of Mexican kind of home grown pizza places. Big Apple Pizza and Nick's Pizza are kind of a great homegrown company.
She said the pizza word.
Pastas Candies is another popular spot for people who are making their way through town. They came here with a Greek family and are still going strong with the history of their truffles and chocolates and caramels.
Ooh,
yummy.
Yeah.
This is getting dangerous, especially right now. Well, hey, listen, I was on your website, and it seems that pickleball is a big deal. And I learned recently that pickleball really is for all ages now, right? So
yeah. So I always like to try new things and learn different things. And I had told somebody I had never played tennis or really knew much about tennis, and they're like, oh, don't even bother, go straight to pickleball.
Yeah.
And so it is. We have our young professionals group. They are active in the pickleball world, and then we have our seniors and retirees that kind of help facilitate all of the different groups, and they teach the lessons for pickleball. And yeah, it truly is awesome. Lifetime sport that you can. My kid, he is a teenager, and him and his friends go play when they don't have something else going on. So definitely for all ages.
Pickleball down the highway. Hey, where is the highway in your community? The Jefferson-Highway.
Yep, it goes basically right through our center of town. Right by the Zamboni building.
Does that sound familiar, Lisa?
I know. I love this. I love the center of town.
It's so cool.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
we're about ready to invade. We're about ready to invade the Owatonna. That's one of the few communities on the route that I have not been to, and because I had to skip it on my Minnesota tour because of a conflict I had. I didn't get to go into the town that day, but our conference, they're going to be a principal part of our bus tour and our conference in June. So we're looking forward to coming up there and hoping to get to see Glenda. And I know she's been working with our good friend Sandy Kelly, who's been doing a lot of the work.
Yeah, I'm excited. It was funny when she had called me asking if I had ever heard of this. I had, and I couldn't figure out why until she showed me the map. And pretty much my whole life I have lived on some point on the Jefferson-Highway. I grew up in central Iowa, and Iowa Falls is right there, and Ames is where I went to college. And so the name was familiar, but I had to kind of look back and see why that was so familiar to me. So it's been fun to learn a little bit more about it as I've been talking with her.
Yeah, this is so cool because I know the conference, and we're going to edge into our Iowa department of the road trip, but this makes perfect sense. So in Iowa, Mason City is the conference destination for this year in June. We've got our segment with Lindsay James on the next show that we recorded with her, and I really want to go there. But this is epic if that's part of it. So, Roger, you're going to have like a convoy going? I want to play convoy on the highway.
Our bus tour day is always one of our – everybody loves our bus tour days. They're just so much fun. We get up early and we just go around the highway and discover. And a lot of people will drive it afterwards and say, "Hey, I want to," because it's just great. So we're going up. Our tour is going north from Mason City. Mm-hmm. So we're going up to Northwood, Iowa, and then Albert Lee, Minnesota, and and up in Owatonna. And there's some great communities up there. I got to spend time in Northfield on the trip I took up there, but it's just great, and there's a lot of history, and there's actually a barn just to the north of Northfield that actually still has the Jefferson name on it after the Jefferson-Highway farm that was up there at one time. So
cool.
It's just really a lot of it's just a great part. I thoroughly enjoyed my trip to that area, but I had to skip your community. But I will be there at the conference. I'm looking forward to it.
Wow,
well,
Arlene, are you going?
To meet you there.
Arlene,
yes,
are you going? You
there.
are.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think you're
tour because who doesn't like the bus tour and a road trip
right.
when you have a designated driver?
I'm excited to see all of you. And
see.
We have every state pretty much to go, and we're looking to get some people from Manitoba. It might be the first conference we have every one there. So looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Well, it has been a pleasure having you on the show, Glenda. Everyone, go to visitowatonna.org. And again, so now I think we're up to 4 destinations, but then you added some more, Roger. So I know that we're probably at. I'm not going to try and count. It's wine time over here. I'm not even going to count. It's getting ridiculous how much there is to see and do on the highway. So everybody just go. It's 2023. This should be your epic adventure. Road tripping is back. Are you seeing road tripping?
Oh yeah.
Come through to you, Glenda, over in Owatonna?
Yeah.
Are you seeing that increase?
We are. I think that people are kind of doing what maybe you would consider off regular path, and we see a lot of bus tours coming into our community from up in the cities area and down, in the Iowa area. It's a very quick drive to Owatonna, and you can make a day trip or you can do an overnight trip, and we're seeing quite a few come in, especially now that people are getting back into traveling in that group again. So it's been fun to be a part of that and welcoming them back again.
I would because of your name, Owatonna. I mean, that's.
I know.
I know. I want to go to Owatonna.
And I'm impressed that you're saying it correctly.
Well, there's a story there.
There's always a story. Do you know it, Roger?
That name is going to mean
something. There's a chief, isn't it? I remember there's a statue of him or something.
Yes, so we have a Princess Owatonna is in one of our parks that is still in there, and you can kind of learn a little bit about her. And
princess.
Yeah.
Princess Owatonna. See, I knew it.
Ooh,
I knew
it was that.
Yeah, I knew. I connected. I connected
there.
I like it.
Oh my gosh. Nancy, you're never going to stop. Nancy is she is in swimming in the rabbit hole of it. And
I can't
now
get
she's
out.
going to, I don't know. We're never going to get out. And we are
going to find out.
I'm going to go
serious.
further down. Oh,
I know.
She probably has hairdo like Princess Leia.
Oh. Beam up. All right. Well, Glenda, on that note, have fun with your hair and the princess's hair. Rapunzel, let your locks down. But thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful holiday season, New Year, and we'll be chatting with you in the New Year, I know. But take care and stay warm and eat those chocolates.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Glenda.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you. I don't know, this music does make me feel like someone else is driving as we go on this virtual road trip. And I would keep honking the horn, but I think we may all just hang up on each other if we keep doing that. But don't we all have an uncle that has one of those horns that drives you nuts, but everywhere he goes it's like, come on.
Well, we do have uncles who can't drive.
Right. Well, we all have one of those.
Let me put it that way, in a nice way.
Well, listen, Roger is here from the Jefferson-Highway Association. He is the president. We've got Arlene Gould, who's on the board of the association, is also the executive director of Natchitoches-Louisiana. We're going to talk about Iowa now. So I know Lindsay's on the next segment talking about Mason City, but Roger, you want to give everyone just a little preview of why this, well, everyone just go to their website too. Like seriously, Frank Lloyd Wright history. There is so much going on. Music history, the bopper. And then my gosh, there's puppets. I don't want to spoil the interview, but this is a conference site. What are the dates for the conference again?
June 7th through 10th, and we were planning to be in Mason City in 2020, and you know what happened with the COVID. So this has been everybody's wanted to go there for so long. When we were looking, we wanted to go into Iowa for a conference because of the signage that's now up in the state, a lot of the things that were going there. And we were looking for a community, and I had traveled the whole route of Mason City. It just said conference to me, And when you go down in the square and you see, you can stay in the historic park inn, the Frank Lloyd Wright, which is just a restored masterpiece, including the bank building that's next door to it. That's now a conference center, and that's where our conference is going to be. We're going to hold the whole building is pretty much been hell for us for the conference because it's only 27 rooms and it's going to fill up. So it's going to be really cool to be the whole conference, nothing but Jefferson-Highway folks in the hotel. That's going to be a first. And then we've got you can walk out the door in the street. There's a great pub. There's an old diner there that's just it's kind of iconic, and there's an ice cream place there called Birdsall's. It goes all the way back to the 1920s. I don't know of too many ice cream places that have been open that's been their principal business since the time of Jefferson-Highway.
Wow.
And was family owned for generations. Somebody has picked it up again. Now they weren't really closed. They just kind of went to another family, and it is. I follow their site all the time. They're always posting some great, really fun ice creams that are. So I'm looking forward to going back there. And
I want to stop you. Just the food thing on the highway is dangerous as all heck. Arlene's got meat pies. There's beignets in New Orleans. We got candy and chocolate in Owatonna, and we've got ice cream coming out of Mason City. Arlene, how are you feeling going up there for the conference? Are you taking your taste buds with you?
Excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually hoping to have several of our Jefferson-Highway partners from Louisiana. I know that our friends in Alexandria and Avoyles Parish down in Bunkie, they'll probably be attending, but hopefully we'll have a few more from Louisiana going up to Iowa and checking it out.
I love it. So I want to talk about Lamoni. I know some people, especially with the storms right now, aren't able to join us, but Lamoni is a place we wanted to talk about on the show today. Roger, can you fill us in a little bit about where this is in regards to some Mason cities up there near Minnesota? Lamoni is down.
It's quite it's a Missouri border town, and the interesting thing, when it was originally settled, believe it or not, the people that settled it thought they were in Missouri. And then they did a survey and found out, no, you're in Iowa.
That's funny.
So, it's interesting. But it's a unique community. When you go in that area, it has a tremendous history with the Mormon church. It has there's Liberty Hall there that Joseph Smith III actually lived in, and they had thousands of acres there. There's Graceland University, which was established by the church. I don't know if it's totally affiliated with them now, but it is still there. And we have two beautiful, probably the top two murals on the Jefferson-Highway are in that community. They were done. Some of the students were involved in that, I believe. but it was done about 3 or 4 years ago. One of them is an historic gas station that sat on that corner for generations, which was historic to the highway. And you can stand right at it, and you could people take your picture like you're back in time. And then there's a really beautiful mural, very colorful mural of basically an advertising piece out of our Jefferson-Highway 1920 publications, and it's a great place to take a picture too. They have the downtown is very historic. You remember our friend on our previous podcast, Mr. Allier, that did the walking Wonders tours. He did one just a few months ago in that community in Lamoni, and you can get on his site, and he's one of our friends of the highway, and you can take a walk down there. But there's a strong Amish presence in the area. As you drive through northern Missouri, right at the border, and into the area, you are bound to see quite often Amish buggies and vehicles and people. There is a Amish store actually in the community, and it has they have local goods, different foods. They have a made-right diner inside it, and it's really cool. Another really kind of odd fact is that I don't know, it's kind of regional, but the Hy-Vee grocery store chain actually started in that community, and it became one of the most successful grocery stores in the Midwest. It was started as a little grocery store in Lamoni, and they actually have downtown a pharmacy called the Hy-Vee. It was like I think the guy's name was Hyde, and the other guy's name that started it was a V. Started with a V, so they just went with Hy-Vee, I guess. And but they have a pharmacy down.
No, I've heard of that, and I never figured out. And by the way, so it's Lamoni. So again, I'm wrong on how to pronounce things. I was like Lamoni is the town.
Has to do with it has to do with the Mormon Church and something that was in one of the books of the Book of Mormon about so that's where its name comes from. Oh, and there is. I
wanted to quickly ask you. You were talking about the Hy-Vee. Arlene, that ties back to Natchitoches because of the Cafe Frederick store. I was thinking about that, Cafe Frederick, because that's an interesting story. It's the oldest mercantile in the state of Louisiana, but that was two families that were friends. They weren't even they weren't even real relatives at the beginning, right? That was like Civil War era.
That is correct. The Cafes and the Fredericks, that's correct. And the store opened originally in 1865, and it ran, and it's been open continuously since then. So, still going strong.
Yeah. And listen, you can get all kinds of candy. You can get bottled Coke, Coca-Cola in a bottle. Like, seriously, where do you get that anymore? It's like I used to go to Mexico just for Fanta in a bottle.
Right. So one thing to mention about Lamoni has not really been announced yet, but I guess I'm going to announce it right here.
Yay!
We're going to do a pre-conference tour of the Jefferson-Highway. We've never done this before. Back in the day, they promoted the route historically by doing caravan sociability runs where they would get in cars and just drive the route as friends and wave flags, and people would get out. So we're going to start. We've already got Mr. Johnson, who was on our show earlier with his 1955 Chevrolet, is going to come and be part of this. And we're going to have several. We're going to start it off the Monday before the conference. I think that's the 5th. And we're going to start in Lamoni, and that's where we're going to start. And we are looking forward to everybody meeting there, and we're going to recreate some stuff in their downtown, like because we have some pictures of the original tour starting tours in there, and we're going to recreate a little bit, have some fun with it, and we're going to travel all the way through Iowa from the border of Missouri all the way to the conference. So it's going to be great.
Awesome.
You need a vintage car club.
Yeah, we do.
We are going to get some car clubs. We are.
Yeah.
We are working on that. We are.
Cool.
They might just join us for a portion that day or whatever, and we're also going to. This last week, I did have some reach out with because we share the Lincoln Highway in that state, and we're gonna work with them to do something joint together. So that'll be a lot of fun. So.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. So, we love our music, and before we go south to Missouri, I'm going to have to be corrected again. I can't pronounce anything on the highway, okay? It's okay. This is the thing. If you're going to learn how to pronounce things, you have to go there. That's the only way you'll learn. It's like I can say Natchitoches now, but I couldn't until I got there. Now I can say Natchitoches all day long. I mean, I dream about Natchitoches. I want to go back. It's one of our favorite places. But listen, we're talking about the highway, and so we got a little bit of music. Road trip music is all part of it, and we're going to play this from the Cravens. So it's a little rock and roll time, right? A little heavier rock and roll because you got to turn it up. You got to put the windows down. Maybe not today because it's a little cold, but when we're planning for summer. Here's a little music from the Cravens. Go to cravensongs.com and check it out. Here is Highway from their album On the Line, and then we're going to be in Missouri in a few seconds. Stay tuned.
I've been thinking of something. I've been thinking of something new to do. I'm bored of the same routine, same old things I
Cravens and their song Highway. We had to play it. We've got to rock it out a little bit. And they're right. Get that wind in your hair. Get on the road. Put the windows down. Put the top up. Come on. Get on the highway. Do a road trip. You're listening to Big Blend Radio's special Jefferson-Highway show with Roger Bell, the president of the Jefferson-Highway Association, Arlene Gould, the executive director of Natchitoches Convention and Visitor Bureau in Natchitoches, the oldest city in the state of Louisiana. The Jefferson-Highway, again, started in 1915, goes from Winnipeg all the way down to New Orleans. And so this is exciting. We're doing a two-part show. We've got this show, this live one, and then we've got another show coming on after this. So we're doing this virtual road trip, and now we're going to go to Missouri. We've got 3 special guests joining us, and we're very excited to talk about this state. And this is, I can't stand it. This is like my bucket list. It is seriously very exciting to go to Missouri. Nancy, you know how I am about this with the history, so very excited. So stay tuned. We've got some special guests. Missouri. It feels good. Somebody else was driving, especially with that music. We've got Patrick Tuttle joining us. He's the director of the Joplin Convention and Visitor Bureau in Missouri. So go to visitjoplinmo.com. Welcome to the show, Patrick. How are you?
Good. How are you all this evening?
Very good. Very good. If you're on speaker, can you take us off because we can't hear you as well? But good to have you here. And also, I do believe we have David Atkinson calling in on behalf of the Cass County Historical Society in Harrisonville. Welcome to the show, David. How are you?
Well, thank you very much. I'm very good. Thank you.
Cool. Great to have you here. And we also, I believe, have Christian Mengel from St. Jomo. This is what I'm going to say, St. Joseph. This, again, a bucket list place. St. Joseph, Missouri Convention and Visitor Bureau. And you can go to stjomo.com. So welcome. It's stjomo.com. Welcome to the show, Christian. How are you?
Oh, thanks. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. We're so excited to have all of you here. Nancy and I have been, geeking out on Missouri. Roger, you geek out on Missouri. I know you do. I know. It's the rabbit hole of history. Big time. Big time. Arlene, have you been to Missouri?
I have. I was actually took a little road trip through Missouri when I was at the conference this summer. So I took a little side trip through some parts of Missouri and loved it. Loved it.
It is beautiful. Patrick, I want to start with you. Did we say Missouri or Missouri? Because I'm always in trouble how I pronounce things.
Stay with Missouri.
Missouri. Okay. So tell us a little bit where Go ahead.
The kind of rule of thumb we use is how the Indians say it. And we have Miami, Oklahoma, and not right across the border. That's how the Indians say it. It's Miami, not Miami. So.
Okay. So, Patrick, tell us where Joplin is in regards to coming over the border when you're coming south. When we were just in Iowa. So, where are you in regards to the state for people to get an idea?
This will be your last Missouri stop is where Joplin will be before you cross Kansas and into Oklahoma. And we're in the southwest corner of the state. We're right on we actually call it the 4-state area. We're 40 miles from Arkansas, 5 from Oklahoma, and 3 from Kansas. So it's right there in the corner.
I think we've been there. You see, here it is again.
Nancy. We've got 2 cardinal points with us here. St. Joseph, Missouri, and Joplin were both cardinal points. They were originally designated points that the route had to go through. So, just FYI on that.
No, that's important because Roger, just kind of take us back on this. This is when the route was being developed. Did they have to go to state?
They did originally. They just knew that Winnipeg. They just knew that Winnipeg and New Orleans were the starting point, and then at the conference in New Orleans in 1915, they all these states came there, including Nebraska, North Dakota, different ones to get the route done. So they didn't they came up with a plan, and all they did was develop these cardinal points. They said, we don't know exactly how the roads are going to go because we don't know what the conditions of the roads are, but these communities are what the route has to go through. And St. Joseph was one, and my community, Muskogee, was one, Joplin was one. So in Louisiana, the only one was Alexandria and New Orleans. So.
Okay. Wow. And so I want to go to you, Christian, over in St. Joseph, because there's something, St. Joseph, you guys are like a crossroads of history because of the Pony Express and all of that too, and I always think Civil War history in the whole state is fascinating because it's kind of like a mixed pond from what I've read. Doesn't mean I'm right. Before everybody emails me and yells at me, but Christian, tell us a little bit about where you are in the state, and I mean, you have Jesse James too, man. That's some craziness.
Yeah, so St. Joseph is super unique in a lot of ways, but we're in the northwest portion of the state. I guess you'd say near Iowa. We have a lot of Iowa people that come down to St. Joe specifically during the summer for Chiefs training camp because there are some Chiefs fans in Iowa, and they'll come down, and we're the home of the Chiefs training camp, and so it's, our Iowa neighbors come down for it. But St. Joseph historically, it really is the crossroads, with, the Jefferson-Highway, obviously, but then also the Pikes Peak, kind of east and west route. But, it is the start of the Pony Express. It started here to head west, and the Oregon Trail, the whole idea of going west, is really kind of started in St. Joe, where St. Louis takes the name, kind of the gateway of the West because they have the big magnificent arch. But when you went west from St. Joe, that was it. Like you were in the West after, that was kind of it. So the fun saying for us, like you said with Jesse James, the fun unofficial saying for St. Joe is where the Pony Express started and Jesse James ended.
I got the giggles about that. I wanted to go to you, David. Where is Cass County and Harrisonville, and especially in history-wise? I know you're very involved in history.
Well, we are the first county south of Kansas City. Kansas City's Jackson County, and we're Cass County. So we're immediately south, and we border Kansas, which is a lot of our history deals with the border war back during the Civil War and before the Civil War, where we had both sides coming across, killing and burning. So we're heavily involved in Cass County history. Was the Civil War here in Missouri?
Well, am I right that it was kind of a split thing in Missouri, where some were southern and some the north and the south was basically going on, like from?
Yes, we had all kinds of issues. There were people in town with slaves, and other people were totally against it. And obviously, when they did the Kansas-Nebraska Act, that really got it going. And we had the Jayhawkers and the pro-slavers, and they went back and forth. Some of our people from our county went over and burned Lawrence, Kansas, and killed a number of their men, and led to a very disastrous, what they called Order Number 11, which everybody on both sides of the county, from Jackson all the way down south along the border, had to move out of their farms and move into a town. And they literally burned every building, all the brush, all the timber, so these outlaws could not hide anywhere, and the Union soldiers could find them. So it's called Order Number 11, and they literally burnt everything. And we still have we built a monument, if you will, out of the Justice Center here in town that looks like a chimney, a fireplace that was left after all the buildings were burned. It kind of explains the Order Number 11. So we've made a little bit of an effort to kind of keep that alive.
Wow. You have some.
Put this in context with some of the ideas of the Civil War. A lot of the battles between Missouri and Kansas took place almost 2 years before Gettysburg. So we were fighting out here along the border for quite a long time.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that is wild.
Yeah.
And I know we're gonna, we talk about Texas, Denison, Texas, and Eisenhower was there, but it's so interesting to me that he had a farm in Gettysburg, I feel like he had to be like near a battlefield in some way just to understand. I don't know. Just it's fascinating to me about that. But you know, when you think about the Civil War history of, you know, every time I look at Missouri, I'm like, what is going on in your state? Like, so much is happening, and you know, the country's doing all these different things, but Missouri was like, I don't know, it was like a free for all for everybody's, you know, beliefs, and it was like, I don't know, it's the center of the country in a way, you know, with what was happening.
Well, you know, if you go into, if you're traveling Jefferson-Highway routes, you got to, and we'll talk a little bit about that, I think, in our recordings, but the Kansas side of the border, you know, there's John Brown's home and all that is right on the route, and you can. This whole history is just really a part of this tour. I mean, you can really get into it, and the Jesse James history. There is no place I mean, it is just really strange on the Jefferson-Highway when you can go and see the James farm, see where Jesse James' grave is. You can go to St. Joseph and see the house where he was shot. You can go up to Northfield, Minnesota, and see where the raid was. Just almost like Jesse was on the route or something one day before it was even done.
Wow.
So it's just part of the uniqueness. And Harrisonville has a really neat square downtown, and the courthouse. I'm not sure, how old is that courthouse, David?
The courthouse was built in 1897.
Wow. Wow.
And it looks exactly today as it did in 1897.
Oh, we got to.
Yeah, there's a lot of these courthouses get rebuilt or got burned or whatever, but this is one that is really, really old, and it's.
We do a thing on courthouses across the country, and I'm fascinated by them because it's almost like it's like this is when we're becoming a real town. From, you know, if it's a mining camp to you know, we're starting to go into like making money. It's like when the courthouse comes, you know, like life is happening, law and order is here, and it's like this is now a city. Would you agree with that, David? I know you're in the history side.
I would. Well, the Jefferson-Highway came through town on one of the main roads, if you will, and it literally ran right across the square on the west side. So everybody that traveled the road saw the courthouse in the downtown district because that was the center of the county and the center of Harrisonville by all means. And so it got a lot of traffic through there, and like any square, it was extremely prosperous during the years, and then it kind of fell off in the 60s and 70s. And we've been very fortunate in the last 5 or 10 years that there's been an uptake on the square. We've got 3 or 4 restaurants, and a lot of the businesses are moving back up there. Apartments, you know, I've got a few apartments up there, and you just, as soon as you have a vacancy, there's people wanting to move into the square. So it's become quite the hub of Harrisonville right now. So it's very historic because there were lots of filling stations and things that came up the Jefferson-Highway as it went through town. A big garage that was there to service the cars, and it's still there. Right. It's now a big event center. So you know, it's Brick Street. The event center is busy all the time. So it's Harrisonville's got a lot going on at the moment. So it's certainly worth the trip down the Jefferson-Highway to see us.
I love it. I want to go to Patrick, too, because, Patrick, you guys in Joplin are not only on the Jefferson-Highway, but you also have Route 66. So having the Route 66, the resurgence of Route 66, and gone through that, and obviously, you know, from the initial time, but you understand the importance of these highways, don't you, as a city and community?
Certainly, and through Joplin, it's an advantage of both Jefferson-Highway as well as Route 66. And we go back to about the 1860s also with the Tri-State Mining District. This was the largest lead and zinc deposits in the world that covered our tri-state area. And as the highways started happening, those roads that the miners used became the major highways through the area as well. So an important part of commerce, moving goods, like any highway is, it made a difference for us.
Wow, wow. And then the art, we have to talk about it. Artist Victoria Chick was on the second show, but also did another interview that aired on Saturday, and a whole article about Thomas Hart Benton. But it seems that your city has really, you know, kind of put your hands into the importance of public art. And that's always fascinating to me. That just shows me a city's means something. Like the courthouse, it's like the stamp, you know.
It has really changed around in the last 12 years since the 2011 tornado that took out a third of the community. We've got now have 12 murals downtown, and the capstone to that is the last signed work by Thomas Hart Benton, world-renowned artist. It's from the Joplin area. His house is in Kansas City where he did his final work, and that mural is actually turning 50 years old. We have a sesquicentennial this coming year, 2023, and he did it back in 1973 for the centennial. So it's quite a jewel to have.
Wow! So this go Victoria.
It also hangs in the hangs in the City Hall building, which is the historic Newman's department store, which is a 112-year-old department store building.
Wow! You see, you don't see this
everywhere. Yeah, we got to go there. We got to go there in our 2016 conference, which was held in Carthage. Our bus tour. We got to go into the department store, and it was really neat to see how that is a community building now. And I guess that's where your tourist center is at, correct, too?
Correct. The visitor center is there, yes.
Oh, wow. That's cool. You know, and that's the thing, too, when you think about these historic towns, shopping is not what you get when you just go to the typical outlet store. Not saying that there's anything wrong with outlets. I'm just saying we all like a good deal. But when you can go to places and get, like, you know, a unique experience, I think that's important. So, Christian, what's it like in St. Joseph in regards to what you can see and do? It seems like you've got museums, you've got shopping, you've got food, history, architecture. It's like you guys have got like an amazing destination.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate. It really is a little bit of everything, just kind of depending on what you're into. But the big things definitely, if you're a history buff, I don't see how you can't come to St. Joe just because there is so much, in terms of just what kind of made the U.S. the way it is. A lot of it went through St. Joe at one time or another. It was, at one point, more millionaires per capita, I want to say in the world, not just the U.S., and it was because there were so many thinkers, and innovators ahead of their time, that, could profit off that. And the idea of people going west, for the gold rush and everything, if you want to think about the people that really profited off of the gold rush were the ones that were in the last community before really being in the West, who were the ones selling, the pickaxes and the wheels and the wagons and stuff and the horses. And one of my favorite stories is if you go to Robidoux Row, which St. Joseph's named after Joseph Robidoux. Robidoux Row is the oldest, I want to say the oldest building to be a museum in St. Joe, like 1850. But there's a kind of a pot, like a pot stove, cast iron pot stove that they said they have record of it being sold multiple times from the same store. And you would ask yourself, like, why, how did it get sold multiple times? Well, the guy was smart enough to know that when people are traveling west, he'd say, oh, you're going to need this stove to cook up your food. And, when you're actually heading west and you got a horse and a wagon, the first thing to go is going to be the stove when all of a sudden it gets too heavy. And so they're only going to make it like 20 miles, 50 miles before they realize, no, we're not dragging this stove all the way to, the coast. And so this guy would just travel out and get his stove back and sell the same stove to the next idiot person who thinks they need a stove to drag across the country.
Cleaned and refurbished, right? This is
smart
amazing.
Man.
This is amazing.
Have, like, Bonnie and Clyde. Didn't they hang out there?
Oh, boy.
No.
I'm not sure about the Bonnie and Clyde.
St. Joseph.
They did in Joplin. We have the last apartment they lived in. Yes, soon to be turned into an Airbnb as well.
I got to stay there. Yeah, I got to stay in the Airbnb. It's that's really a fun place to be.
Are you kidding me? This is craziness. This highway is crazy. This is, but I mean, in a good way. I mean, but this is where you can experience history. And I think this whole idea of road tripping, it's like a treasure hunt. And I think that's why Nancy and I mean, we travel full time. And I'm realizing as you guys are talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have gone through places and we need to stop. And I didn't know we were on the highway half of the time. And it is, when you start to understand this highway thing and how everybody is connected. I mean, right now, this whole Highway is going through a little bit of a winter storm, and we're all connected with that. In summer, we're all connected with warm and go outside and nature. The history sites, the art, and food. I mean, the food is a big deal. So I want to go to each of you, and we want the food. We want the food report. But Christian, I want to go back to you on the Pony Express. We're actually doing a map. We're doing a historic courthouse one. Doing a public art one. We're doing a map on the Pony Express, and we're going to all the stops. So all three of you, we need to just come to Missouri for a year or something. I don't know, but it sounds like it. But Christian, the Pony Express is just the same thing as Route 66, Jefferson-Highway. Do you get a lot of people coming? Because I think you have the National Museum, right, that actually come and they're getting their little checks off that I did this site on the Pony Express.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, the Pony Express National Museum is right downtown, the old part. So it's the original, stable and headquarters and everything. So you can see the stable, door and everything when you go in there. And then just a few blocks, east of there is also the Patey House and Jesse James home. So it's all pretty much right there in that same area. And Patey House has
that Patey
more
House
than I can talk about.
That Patey House Museum is one of the hidden treasures. It is. You could stay in there for hours and hours. It is just an unbelievable museum. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's almost like, the Mall of America in terms of a museum for a small town. It's 60,000 square feet of something of
wow.
4 stories. It's a massive building. Yeah.
I need to go
to
Missouri.
Where Jesse
this is
James,
crazy.
The house where Jesse James was shot is part of that complex. You go right into it there.
No way. I need to go back. You know what? You guys have some of the most beautiful natural areas in Missouri, too. We've been to some wildlife refuges and the prairies. I just want people to know how amazing prairies are. The wildflowers, the birds. I mean, you guys, it's beautiful. It is beautiful, and I just want the world to understand how beautiful Missouri is. I mean, the waterways and just those prairies with all those flowers in between the grasses. I know it sounds weird, but, I mean, I really love your state from what we've been through. It just is, it's gorgeous. So in closing here, because we're going to go south now, we're going to go to Kansas because it's just next to you. I want to ask each of you, if someone knocked on your door and said, okay, hello, we're here. You know how drop-ins happen? Suddenly your best friend decides to show up on your doorstep, or a family member. Maybe it's the one you want or don't want, but they're here for, we're here for the afternoon. What is one place you're going to take them to eat, and what is one activity you would do in your town in Missouri? So let's start with you, Patrick. What's happening in Joplin?
Well, they got to be on Main Street because most of our mom and pop restaurants are on Main Street, and Tropicana Bar and Grill's got amazing Philly steak and cheese egg rolls. They're just they're hard to beat. Yeah, and then there's the must get the Bonnie and Clyde apartment, see Grand Falls, which is Missouri's highest continuously flowing waterfall, and then go stand on the tri-state marker between Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri.
Oh, I want to do that. But Philly steak cheese egg rolls? Really?
Your mouth is already watering.
I know it. Listen, this is a dangerous show. And listen, by the way, Missouri is where sliced bread happened. I found that out. That's where it came from. Somebody in Missouri said, "We're going to slice bread and prepackage it that way." And look at it. Now it's cool. Just saying, Missouri's got some good stuff happening. So let's go to you, David. What's happening in Harrisonville in regards to someone's knocking on your door and says, hey, you're taking me out for an afternoon?
Well, that's pretty easy for me because I've lived here most of my life and spent most of my life within 6 blocks of the square. So that's where the courthouse is. So I'm very familiar with the history, and I'm more than happy to give people tours of the square when I'm thrown into a situation like that. I did the same thing for my class reunion when we had our 50th class reunion this year, and everybody in my class obviously went to Harrisonville, but nobody knew anything about the square. So I can ramble on about that forever and talk about the buildings. All the buildings are still there except for a couple. We had the hotel burned down, but the rest of the buildings are all intact, just like they were back in the 1900s when the Jefferson-Highway came across and when it was all dirt. And then we've got a couple new restaurants. None of them are anything outstanding as far as you got to go there to get this, but they're all quaint mom and pops, and they all have very good food, alcohol if you wanted in a couple of them. So. In a coffee shop. So, there's something for everybody, I guess is what I would say. And, that's kind of the key to the town because the courthouse sits high in Harrisonville, and you can see it from the highway. You can see it from about anywhere within a half to a mile range. So it draws people up to the square to see what's going on. And we do have stuff going on the square finally.
I love that. Cool. I love to hear about that, and we definitely will be calling you when we come because we've got our courthouse thing to do. And I think that
I'll give you a tour. Yeah.
Please do, and there's always liquor in a cup if it's near a courthouse. Unless you're in a Tri-County. That's what I've learned. But Christian, what's happening in St. Joe when someone knocks on your door?
Well, in terms of the whole places to eat, I guess we're recently named the Tenderloin Capital of the World.
Ooh.
Yeah, so if you Google Tenderloin Capital of the World, it pops up. And there's probably a dozen different places that has one, but I mean, I'm not personally a huge Tenderloin fan, so it doesn't necessarily go with me. But in terms of what's happening or what to do, I got a lot of friends in Kansas City that when they think of St. Joe, honestly, with all the history and everything, the thing that really stands out to them, and maybe it's just kind of an off-the-wall thing, but the Glore Psychiatric Museum is in St. Joe. And the Glore.
Oh, man.
And it is not for the faint of heart. If you can't handle the mental illness history of people, it's just not for you. But in terms of, it is a museum basically that's centered around psychiatric treatments for mental health, and basically it's a good what not to do in terms of how to heal somebody.
But if they history, because when they did shocking on people, like
Lisa,
when we were in
they
Asheville,
have
North
haunted
Carolina,
tours
they
there,
did
I
that.
believe.
Wow. There's some weird stuff that happened in the past, man.
Oh yeah,
but it is interesting. It is.
Yeah, you mentioned the ghost tours earlier, and it's definitely a place that all the ghost tours go there. All the groups. They're starting in 2023 a launch of Murder at the Asylum, which is like a live interactive clue game.
Oh my gosh! Oh my God! I love it. So, all right, tenderloins.
I want to go.
Tenderloins and psychiatric help. Go to St. Joe, and you may meet, Jesse James. I love this. Thank you all for joining us. It's been a real special time with you guys, and I wish we had more time. But Christian, give everyone your website, please.
Yeah, stjomo.com, stjomo.com.
All right, and Patrick, yours is visit joplinmo.com?
That's correct. Come see us.
And David, I know that your historical society is on Facebook. That's a good place for people to go to get involved. And you have a genealogical one, too, for people doing family history?
I don't, but the city of Harrisonville has a website where a part of their website talks about the square and all the history of the square. So the city of Harrisonville, and just click on the square history, and it'll tell you every story about everything that you need to know. And we're just a town of 10,000 people, so everybody kind of knows everybody.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. Take care. Happy holidays.
Awesome.
Stay warm.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so we've crossed the border. We're in Kansas. How does that feel? Click your ruby heels twice. Everyone, we're going to the city of Fort Scott. I had to say that. I know, just for a friend. But we are going to the city of Fort Scott. So you can go to visitfortscott.com. We're going to chat with Jackson Tuff. He is here, and he is the public relations and tourism director. Oh, listen to that voice. Man, you are
absolutely.
Tuffy.
And let me tell you, I'll tell you, I really was having fun listening in because I've been to St. Joe. I have been to the Glore Museum, and it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I think I had a family member that rode in the Pony Express.
Oh, no way, that's cool. That's
a guy named Littleton Tuff.
Oh, that's wow. See how the highway connects all these stories and family stories and family history, and and I think this is a huge part of this whole highway is all the families that did it years ago and will continue doing it now. That's our big hope is, come on, make this a big epic road trip and get your family back in the station wagon. They are making them again, I'm just saying. But they didn't stop. But welcome to the show. So how close are you to Missouri?
Fort Scott is just a very few miles from the state line, and of course, that's why we have such a huge Civil War history here. Missouri and Kansas fighting back and forth, but makes for some interesting history along the way.
You sent us some good photos. The downtown looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I just love these downtowns that keep their history and their architecture and then have flowers. There's something about flowers in downtowns that just make it, right? So what is your downtown like? I mean, is it, boutique shops, restaurants? I mean, it just seems so idyllic.
It's and I'm sure you hear this a lot. It's quaint. It is. Fort Scott used to have 3 brick manufacturers, and so a lot of our streets are the old brick streets, especially downtown in the historic district. And we have shops upon shops upon shops and different kinds of restaurants, but it's still a small town. I mean, we're less than about 8,000 people, and so it's like you kind of know everybody as you walk down the street. And if you don't, it won't be too long till you do.
Oh, I like that. And where does the highway, does it go through the main street? Does it go through the center of town like Roger tells us it does in every town on the highway?
Yes, it does.
US Highway 69, right down the middle of town, kind of dividing the east and the west side.
Wow, that's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and it's easy to hop on and off too. So.
And you also have Fort Scott National Historic Site, which Nancy and I have to go because we document parks and public lands, especially National Park Service. So we'll have to come see you just at least for that. I mean, obviously because of the highway too. And then you got downtown.
Absolutely.
I mean, so the historic site is that part of the Civil War history or?
Yes, indeed. Fort Scott National Historic Site was actually built in 1842. Now, you think about that, and the outpost, it was actually established to provide protection for the increasing number of settlers who were coming west, migrating from the eastern states, and so the fort was trying to keep the peace between those folks and the Native Americans who had been here for many, many years, so there were border patrols and that kind of thing. But it's truly, we like to say where the western frontier began, because anything west of here was wilderness. There was really nobody to the west at that time whenever the fort was built. So you'd love to see the Fort Scott National Historic Site. I do know that.
I know. Roger, I think when you knew we were traveling from Arkansas and stuff, you were saying you need to go there, and our timing was off. It happens. But
it's a great place. We got to visit it during our conference this year in Pittsburgh. It was part of our bus stop. We got to take an awesome trolley ride. The guide we had there was just fascinating. I've been to a lot of tours in my time, but this guide and Arlene was on that, I'm sure.
Arlene,
Yes, it was. It was fascinating. Yeah.
He did a great job, and we got to go to the National Cemetery there, which is really interesting. And he told us things we would have never known. And there's beautiful houses there, and The tourist park was in a gun park, and I know that Jackson, you told me the size of that park. It's unbelievable how big that park is.
It's actually over 155 acres, and I believe it's the largest municipal park in the entire state of Kansas.
Wow!
And
cool.
And you know, as Roger said, it was a major tourist camp, and we still have campers that come in spring, summer, and fall, and I think 8 or 9 miles of hiking and biking trails, and 18 holes of disc golf, and just all sorts of fun things there. But Gun Park was like a huge deal back when the Jefferson-Highway was really rolling.
Wow, that's so fascinating to me about people traveling back then.
The photographer, the African-American photographer, his name's escaping me right now.
Gordon
He
Parks.
has a museum there.
Yeah,
Gordon Parks. And that's a really fascinating history there. And it's kind of one of those forgotten treasures.
Gordon Parks, if you've never looked him up, he was an amazing photographer, filmmaker. He was a writer, composer, but he picked up the camera whenever he was very young. His mother died whenever he was 16. And so he found himself homeless, struggling to survive. He ended up kind of supporting himself by several means, including, I believe he played a piano in a brothel, mopped floors, washed windows, did all sorts of things. But he saved up enough money to buy this camera, and he was the first African-American staff photographer and writer for Life magazine.
Wow.
And at the time, of course, Life magazine was by far the most prominent photojournalism publication in, I'd say, the world. But he also made a film called The Learning Tree, and this film actually beat out a John Wayne Western the year it was made. It finished at the box office bigger than that. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's
kind of cool. But Gordon Parks grew up right here in Fort Scott, and he's just a fascinating gentleman, and we have a great museum to reflect back on his life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's the thing about the trail. And if you go down south to Arlene's area in Natchitoches, you've got Clementine Hunter, the folk artist. I mean, there's just all these connections between the firsts and who did what, and how they struggled to get somewhere. There's all of these stories. And I think that, it's really amazing because of the era that the highway was created. I think it's just a very fascinating time. I know Nancy's been on a permanent rabbit hole looking at all the, people, and which is cool.
Gordon Parks was the director of Shaft. Come on, dude.
Yes.
Dude, seriously.
Dude.
Now I need to change the music on the show. Like, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to have some of that.
Well, listen, Jackson, I want to know if we come to Fort Scott, can I change my radio voice to yours? Like, seriously.
Absolutely.
I need lessons. But okay, so food. Come on, tell us about the food in Fort Scott. I mean, it's got to. I know people. We go and do we drive, and then we do all these activities, and then we're like, we're hungry.
And I heard you asking.
I remember the old cafe. They have that old cafe downtown that's really cool.
Yes. I heard the question that you asked the guys before me, and I have to say, I'll give you two. One is lunch at the New Grill, which is what you're referring to, and it has that classic old diner counter or bar where you can sit there and watch them flipping your burgers, and by the way, they are the best burgers in the entire state of Kansas, I dare say. And then for the evening meal, I definitely, we would have to go to Crooners. It's a lounge and restaurant, but they have it's amazing seafood, steaks, pasta, and their seafood pasta is to die for. It is excellent.
Yummy.
So, but there's a lot of good places to eat here in Fort Scott, Kansas.
Right on.
We're lucky that way.
I love it. Everyone, visit fortscott.com is the website. So go visit. We're going to go visit. I mean, we're going everywhere. We're in. We're in like Flynn. We're in it. And I want to say in the next show coming up after this, Chris Wilson from Pittsburgh and Crawford County is on talking about his gorillas.
Great guy.
I know. And
love
he's got
Chris.
gorillas
Really
in his backyard.
Guy.
You know,
he does.
Like, really, he does. He has gorillas. So go listen to that.
I can confirm this.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jackson. It's been a real pleasure.
You bet. Come to Fort Scott and I'll take you on Dolly the trolley.
Oh, we want to go meet Dolly. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
We want to do that. Thank you. Cool.
You
All
bet.
right,
Thanks for having me on tonight.
Thank
Wow,
you.
it's our
Thank
pleasure.
you for joining us. We're going to go to Oklahoma. Have you been? We're all going. Listening to Big Blend Radio special Jefferson-Highway show. We're talking about over 23 must-visit experiences or must-dos, must-visit. Just go on the highway because there's no way we're just talking about 23. We're already out of time, but we're not quite yet. We're still here. But there's just so much. We have a second show. So we're talking about Oklahoma next. And our next show after this, we talk about the Bob Dylan Center. So check that out. It's in Tulsa, about an hour off the highway. But our next guests are joining us. And when I say us, it's Nancy and I here from Big Blend Radio, Arlene Gould from Natchitoches Convention and Visitor Bureau in Louisiana, and Roger Bell, who is the president of the Jefferson-Highway Association. And by the way, that website is jeffersonhighway.org, and you should check it out and also be part of their Facebook experience. That is an experience because they've got an awesome group. And if you go down the rabbit hole like we all are on this highway, you need to be part of that group. So our first guest joining us from Oklahoma, Billy Sumner. He was on our show earlier this year. He was from the city of McAlester and McAlester Tourism. So you can go to cityofmcalester.com/tourism. But welcome back, Billy. How are you?
I am great. It's wonderful to be back on the show. It's definitely an honor. How are all of you guys doing?
We're excited. I heard that you have dancing rabbits.
Yes.
I mean, we were talking about gorillas in Pittsburgh, Kansas just now. So now you've got dancing rabbits. Is that true?
That is true. That is the name of one of our summer music festivals. It's in the third year right now, but it is already designated as an Oklahoma award-winning festival. So it's a very, very popular music festival that goes on right in smack dab downtown McAlester, which is right along the Jefferson-Highway.
Hey, we like that. We like that.
Awesome.
We also have Jordan Jorgensen joining us from Visit Muskogee, which is she's Roger's neighbor. So you can go to visitmuskogee.com. Welcome to the show, Jordan. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we're glad to have you here. I mean, Roger is always talking about Muskogee, so someone else has to take the reins for a little bit. I mean, is it an awesome city or what?
It is a really awesome city, and Roger's an excellent ambassador for us and everything that we do, especially for the J Highway. But he's just very enthusiastic and so knowledgeable about everything that we have to offer. I'm happy to be here to try and add to anything that he may have shared with you, but I don't know that there's anything Roger hasn't ever covered.
Well, there's a thing about history, right? And I think that's what Roger's passionate about the highway. I don't think we can ask Roger a question about the highway or any of the communities that he can't answer. We have to put him to the test.
I bet
that sounds like a game.
Well, I'm game for that. Roger, we're going to have to do a new show where we're just going to test Roger. Yeah.
Well, we did have Jefferson-Highway trivia at our conference this year, so it was a blast. We had I threw out some questions, and Arlene was there. So Arlene did not win. Though. She was not on the winning team.
You're not just supposed to say that.
I came in second place.
She came in second place. That's good. See, Arlene knows history.
My team was second.
Oh, my gosh.
No, it was. It was fun. Great fun.
I love it.
I like it. This should be a board game, highway trivia.
We love it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I like it.
The Highway board game. Well, we can do some puzzles on our website. We can do some crosswords and stuff. We'll do that.
Yeah.
But Jordan, it seems that Muskogee is really, I know we always think about the music, but and Roger is already hitting me over the head virtually, right? But you are at the crossroads of cultures, and I was thinking that was on your website, visit Muskogee.com, and I think that's really something important for people to understand. And the fact that you interpret it in your city is an important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's just so much history within Muskogee. I mean, we've had some groups come and do some studies on our area, and the best way that they have described us is it's where the Old South meets the Wild West, because we were just so ahead of ourselves with everything that was kind of going on in times whenever we were becoming a city. But at the same time, we have such friendly groups of people that are there of all walks of life that's just always been who we are. We're the friendliest city in the world.
Oh, well, we'll have to go. That sounds like another game.
It does sound like another game.
Jordan says that, but when we had our conference here in 2015, and that was the feedback I got from everybody. They had never been anywhere, so people were so friendly. I remember one of the gentlemen on our tour went into a restaurant and went to pay his meal, and they said, "Oh, they already paid your meal. They knew you were with Jefferson-Highway. They just paid your meal." So they didn't never seen anything like that. So she might have a point there. We are one of the friendliest cities. So.
Oh,
cool. We are.
Hey,
we love welcoming visitors to the city, and we also, whenever we have a chance to, because right down off of the historic J.H. Highway, where we have the Roxy Theater, and so we have the old neon sign. It's big and it's beautiful, and we put up real letters on the marquee, and so anytime that we know that somebody's passing through specifically, or if they have any questions about that and they pop in, we always try and have a little nod to them and welcome JH travelers, or something like that on our Civic Center sign. So anytime that you're coming through, you absolutely have to pop in and say hello.
That's awesome. Cool. Because I think people, that's what we want to see. It's like doing Route 66 and everything, that we're all part of this community. I mean, Route 66 has clubs in Europe and expos, and that's this goal of everybody traveling this highway, finding out all these fascinating stories, and like dancing rabbits and gorillas, and and apparently you've got the General Grant steam locomotive in your area, like that happened, and we've been to the General Grant sequoia tree, so he got around. But I want to go back to Billy. Billy, this is a very important thing. We keep talking about food. And you've got, apparently 2 historic downtowns? Not just one, 2. Am I right?
That is correct, yes. McAlester, when it was originated, was in our historic Old Town Antiques District now, and then we grew into 2 towns before statehood, and then combined into one. So we've got the 2 downtowns, the Old Antiques District, which, of course, wonderful antique shopping and a lot of our original history, and then our downtown shopping district, where we have everything from shopping to food competitions and challenges, all the way to award-winning festivals, as we already talked about, and tons of live music as well.
Cool. Wow, and then you've got breweries.
They have some Italian food there for sure.
Say that again, Roger?
We definitely do. Yep.
They have some great Italian food in McAlester. So.
Oh,
yes, we do. I will attest to that.
Oh, nice. Well, we're happy about
this
that.
year will be our 51st annual Italian festival, so that's held the second weekend in May, on the May 12th and 13th. So always a very popular destination for travelers coming into McAlester during that
Nancy,
time.
It's your birthday. We may have to go.
Yeah.
Your birthday weekend.
Hey, we would welcome you with open arms on that one. We'll throw a big party for you.
Oh,
cool.
Nancy. He wants the friendliest city thing. Look at that, Jordan. You got
Oh
competition.
my goodness. Well, that's okay. We love the McAlester area as well. And if you're coming in May, you have to stop by and see the castle. The Renaissance Fair and Festival will be going on at the castle during that time as well. So you have to pop in and be in our area and spend some time.
Oh my gosh, this is sounding better and better.
Oklahoma's.
I'm sorry, what?
Jordan, tell us about the award that we won this year from True West magazine.
Oh yeah, so the Three Rivers Museum actually puts on this wonderful Western history conference that's Bass Reeves. And so we were working with True West magazine and kind of like really trying to tell all these stories that we have at this wonderful museum. Everything from the very first Girl Scout cookie was baked in Muskogee to we are the final resting place of Bass Reeves. So there's so much history that's there.
Wow.
And we won an award for being one of the top 10 Western history museums in the nation from True West magazine. So it's really an incredible opportunity for us to be able to continue to tell those stories to travelers and to our residents as well. So we want to make sure that as we are continuing to make our own history with each day, that we are always remembering where we came from, how we got here, and what those amazing stories are.
That is super cool, but I'm going to say, yeah, Billy's got beer.
Yeah.
We do. Beercraft Brewery is... Yes, Beercraft Brewery is a very popular destination here in McAlester now, and we also have Spaceship Earth coffee. So Spaceship Earth not
again,
only,
ladies and gentlemen,
not only do they have the coffee, but they do have also award-winning beers and stuff. Prairie Artisan Ales is something that is brewed right here in McAlester, and it is a very, very popular beer that is in 40 states and in almost every continent across the world. So it's definitely one that's very recognized in this area. And Beercraft was actually featured this week on Travel OK as a popular destination as well, too, on their Weekender series of stopping in McAlester. So it's a wonderful place that it combines not only, German beer festivals, but a very family-friendly atmosphere that houses music and outside games when the weather's nice and not like we're experiencing right now. But it's just a wonderful atmosphere to walk into as well.
So take that, George.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I'll tell you what, I take that. Exactly. And I have to tell you, we have a brewery. We do only have one, but it is Muskogee Brewing Company, and it is actually in a renovated firehouse. So it is the first firehouse.
Oh, now wait a minute. You've got firemen and beer? I think I may be hopping over soon.
Well,
now you're talking.
Now you're talking. Yes, exactly. But we do have Station 1, which is the attached restaurant that's there. And you can come in, you can play pool, you can come on the other side. We have some of the original bricks. So whenever they were going in and they were restoring this building, they saved those bricks, and that's how they built their bar. So when you come in, you see all this memorabilia from over the decades of stories that have happened there, and just hero stories about the building. It's almost a museum within itself, except, there's beer there. So play some
Billy,
cornhole
I
in the
mean,
back
what
way.
are you going to do now? Like, I'm just saying. But listen, you guys, both destinations are amazing. We are, time-wise, got to keep running. But before you go, real quick, Roger, I want to give a shout-out to Eufaula and also Atoka. These are two other places, right? So real quick.
One thing real quick, too, I think we need to understand the Native American history. We're in the Muskogee Creek Nation here in Muskogee. Billy's down in the Choctaw Nation, but the Native history, the Native Museum, the Native cultures on this trip in Oklahoma is just part of it. And the communities we're going to talk about in Eufaula and Atoka, they're just part of that also. Eufaula is in the Creek Nation, and Atoka is in the Choctaw Nation, but it's just cool. Part of it, and there's a lot of really neat cultural places to go along the route here. People from all over have come. We're known as one of the top Native American destinations in the world, so it is really.
You guys are competitive. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're
real competitive.
I like to think that we're collaborative because
I know you are. You are being really cool to each other. But it is fun.
No, we love to visit each other all the time.
Well, I would too. I mean, Oklahoma's cool. I like Oklahoma. Open space, and it's just beautiful. Your skies, the greenery, and then also going up into the mountains, and oh my God, and seeing buffalo. It's honestly, you guys have an amazing state. So I want to thank you all for joining us, because now we have to move on. But listen, take care. Happy holidays. Billy, give out your website to everybody again.
Yeah, it's cityofmcalester.com/tourism, or follow us on Facebook at McAlester Tourism as well.
All right, and of course he's the best, right? Billy's the best. And he's got beer.
Hey, I like to think so. You can always contact me for anything.
And Jordan over, it's visit Muskogee.com, and everyone can learn how to spell that themselves. Visit Muskogee.com. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care, guys.
Bye,
It's been a real pleasure. It's been fun. We're gonna do another little segment here. You know, we're gonna get this done. We're on time. Not really. We're not on time. We're not on time. So we cannot leave Texas out. It's the biggest state. Like, seriously. But East Texas is a big part of the Jefferson-Highway. And so Nancy and I want to represent Gladewater because we went there. Oh, it was over a Halloween weekend, I would say about 2 years ago. Maybe don't ask us. Anyway, it was a Halloween weekend. We stayed at the Walker Manor, but it is like a manor. This is a proper historic bed and breakfast, and they serve tea. And then the downtown part of the downtown still has bricks. It's an old oil town. Turned into, when the oil kind of went away, they turned to their antiques and what they had and started selling them to get the town back on track, and now it is the antique capital of East Texas. Now, what is really cool about this town, they have a Christmas store, and we have a Christmas pickle from there. That's really important.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we have a pickle, and we'll be bringing it out soon. But what's
Time
really
to get
cool,
the pickle out.
the music history includes Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash. They have an Opry there, the Gladewater Opry. Elvis Presley used to drive his truck back in the day before he became famous. Johnny Cash, I Walk the Line, and supposedly said he wrote it, part of the lyrics there. You can go to the museum, the local museum, and learn all about Bob Luman, Johnny Mills, Jim Reeves, Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, Tom Perryman. Like, he was a major dude in regards to recording and what was going on in the history. Then, if you go from there, you need to head towards Natchitoches and go to the Country Music Museum because you will see the Louisiana High Rides information and you will connect the dots of musical history. So stay tuned. I know we're doing the Jefferson-Highway, but we're also going to start a Southern musical series because if you look at the music of the South,
a music map.
I know we're doing a music map too. We're crazy. But you will see these connections between the Louisiana hayrides. Then you've got Mississippi with the blues, which also touches into Louisiana. And then Alabama, and you got Georgia. And, so in Florida too. So I'm just saying, this is the highway is going through the Midwest. It goes from Canada, Winnipeg, all the way down through the Midwest. You got the West as well, like Oklahoma, and then you go through East Texas, the Piney Woods. It is unbelievable what you will experience in music on this highway. I know, Roger, we did the jazz music show, especially talking about Kansas City, but the music on this highway, I mean, you've got Prince in Minneapolis. You've got the very first heavy metal band, Lillian Axe in New Orleans, to be part of the Hall of Fame in Louisiana. I mean,
well, we skipped over Atoka a little bit, and we in Oklahoma, and we have Reba McEntire's about ready to open her big place in Atoka in a few years.
That's right.
And she's known obviously for being on TV too, but huge country. Western artist, probably one of the most successful women artists of all time.
That's right.
There you go. Yep.
She's awesome. She is. And everyone, speaking of Texas, Denison is a must-go-to place. Tune into our segment after this. We're going to close with Louisiana, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about Arlene's neck of the woods, and she has woods. You know why? She's got Kisatchie National Forest, the only national forest in the state of Louisiana in her backyard. All right, so everybody, we're talking about Louisiana. This is the bottom part of the trail, or it's the starting point, right, depending on which way you're going. The historic Jefferson-Highway goes from Winnipeg to New Orleans or New Orleans to Winnipeg, and we're at this portion of Louisiana. Arlene is the executive director of Natchitoches-Louisiana, which is the tourism, Natchitoches Tourism, which is the oldest city, Natchitoches is, and near her is Alexandria, and we're going to welcome Shirley Ingram onto the show, and I encourage you to go to their website, AlexandriaPinevilleLA.com. So, Shirley, how are you?
I'm wonderful and thrilled to be on the show with you all. Thank you so much.
Look how happy and friendly she is. This is Louisiana, y'all.
That's right. That's who we are.
Yeah.
That's right. That is exactly who we are.
Well, listen, Wilbert is on the next show talking about Bunky. And, you know, I found out the history of Bunky and the monkey. But anyway, everyone says Bunky's got monkeys.
Bunky got
gators. But we
in Louisiana, we're going to have a good time. We just are.
That's always. I know. Shirley, we stayed in Alexandria. We toured Pineville, went to Bayou Rapides. We went to the Rapides Cemetery, that very historic cemetery where I actually got stuck in the back of the car, and the seatbelt trapped me in the cemetery.
Oh my, that's a new story.
We had so much fun.
Memorable moment.
Kent House Plantation. I mean,
yes,
the downtown.
That's right.
You've got a Holocaust memorial that I was like, whoa! I think it was dedicated the day we were there.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Historic hotel.
And in the downtown area, we also have this absolutely gorgeous historic old hotel, Hotel Bentley, built in 1908 and stunningly beautiful. So, it's in the middle of the downtown arts district where any original artwork that you buy at any of our museums is tax-free. So,
hello.
And it's lovely that our downtown community and arts community is all very walkable. So it's kind of like a European city that you can just leave your car parked and walk. And so
cool. You got Kisatchie too, because I know that we went out, and I think it was at Boyce that we went to.
I think so. You're reaching back there a little ways, but I think it was.
I'm always
of course, and in Kisatchie National Forest, we've got what I call all the Ingings: hunting, fishing, canoeing, kayaking, biking, horseback riding, hiking, birding, you name it. If it has an ing on the end of it, you can do it in Kisatchie National Forest.
She put the ping
and listen, it's Christmas, so ding-a-ling-a-ling. Okay,
yeah, I like that.
I like that. Arlene, this is what's so interesting. So when you think about the highway going through the state, right, so it hits Shreveport, right, and then it starts going down to you, and it goes down to Shirley, then to Baton Rouge, New Orleans, right? We got a Wilbert's area, Bunky. We can't leave out Bunky.
Right.
And the monkeys.
Yep.
That's right.
Just south of Alexandria, actually. Yeah, the Jefferson-Highway actually travels through 17 parishes throughout Louisiana. We have to be different because everybody else has counties, but Louisiana has parishes. And
That's
so
cool.
from the time that the highway enters in Caddo Parish, where Shreveport is, until it ends in Orleans Parish, you're going through 17 different parishes. And I think that Roger had mentioned earlier in the show that Alexandria was one of the so-called cardinal, stops along the highway when they formed the highway in 1915. So
it was.
But Natchitoches is older than dirt, so we were here before anybody. So all the roads led to Natchitoches.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. Seriously, But okay, so when you're in Shreveport, Nancy and I went to the Rose, the Rose Society of America, and the rose is our national flower. And it really starts back to the history of the Peace Rose that came over from France in World War I or II. Oh, don't ask me. One of those wars. And we went there, and it's just beautiful. And they were refurbishing after a hurricane and renovating.
Probably Hurricane Rita right after one of those. But
I think it was the same year we met you. Yeah, it was the same
It may have been, which was a long time ago. But the Rose Center is the National Rose Garden and Rose Center there in Shreveport is right on Jefferson Page Road, which was Jefferson-Highway originally, coming in from Waston, Texas. I think it's Highway 80. So,
wow.
but they have a beautiful rose center there. Absolutely gorgeous.
Wow. I didn't know that. See, Nancy, we've been on the highway way more than what we knew. You know what I mean? It's like
exactly. You didn't know it then. That's right.
Well, thank you, Arlene.
Well, and I didn't even know. Even in Natchitoches, there's a famous Jefferson Street here in the historic district where a lot of our historic bed and breakfasts are, and Fort St. John Baptiste, which is a state historic site where actually Natchitoches was established as a trading post. I never put two and two together. Jefferson Street was the Jefferson-Highway.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize that until I started planning with, the Jefferson-Highway Association for the conference. And I'm like, wait, Jefferson Street was the Jefferson-Highway.
Wow.
That's so funny.
So Baton Rouge is a big thing. That's the capital. So you do go through Baton Rouge.
Yes, when you leave Natchitoches, you go into Pineville and Alexandria, where Shirley mentioned the beautiful Hotel Bentley, and then through Highway 71 through Bunkie, and then to Baton Rouge. And downtown Baton Rouge, of course, they have the old state capitol. If you're going to do any of the sites along the way, I would definitely recommend taking a visit at the old Louisiana state capitol, which is right on the River Road, right there on the Mississippi River, which was, right there along the original route downtown Baton Rouge before Huey P. Long built the nation's, the state capital. Of all the state capitals, Louisiana has the tallest state capital that Huey P. Long built in the 1930s.
Oh,
but the
and
old
speaking of Huey Long, by the way, you've got to listen to the next show because Steve Schnacker does Hollywood history, and we got Blaze going on in there, and that's got the long.
Oh, yeah, that's another long. That's right, another long.
Little knock.
Yep, and then from Baton Rouge, you're heading down to New Orleans. I mean, just a hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, not, about 75 miles from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. So, but and that takes you to the end of the Jefferson-Highway. There's a
and there's a marker there, right?
That's right, the famous marker. It was let's see, it was dates to 1917, and I think it was the Daughters of the American Revolution that put it there. And then it's at the corner of St. Charles Avenue and Common Street, just right off of Canal Street. So,
wow.
But and I'm just going to say this because tens of thousands of people pass that marker, and they probably don't even realize what it is, but it says clearly it's the end of the Jefferson-Highway from Winnipeg, Canada, all the way to New Orleans.
Wow!
What we've seen is a lot of our travelers that are doing the whole route, or even portions of it. They, when they're in Winnipeg, they certainly take a picture at the starting point there, as we talked about earlier. They've got to do it in New Orleans when they end. So.
Well, I saw something on the Facebook group.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I saw a thing on the Facebook group about someone doing like a run, is it the Louisiana Maneuvers, like a tank thing where they're all getting in tanks and going up?
Right. That's in 2024.
Wow.
Oh.
The National Military Vehicle. The National Military Preservation Association has designated the whole route to be traveled in 2024, and we're talking with them almost weekly now. They've pretty much got their whole. They've already got almost everything planned. Where they're going to be, just some little things that they haven't figured out in certain communities, but they are. But one of the things I'm finding is they are really becoming interested in the Jefferson-Highway. So it's not. They have. We've got one of the gentlemen now. He's going into communities in Texas now and helping us just talk about Jefferson-Highway now because he just loves it now. So
fascinating.
It's interesting.
Very
cool.
Oh.
I love it. And Louisiana is like this, the state of hospitality and fun and festivities. And you could go in as, one person into a restaurant and you'll leave with a gazillion friends. Then you'll stay friends. I mean, it really is that way. It's like, it's just, this is a state that, Nancy, I mean, we always say, like, if we don't go home to Tucson whenever we go home, like, Louisiana's next.
Yeah, that's it.
We might have to be
Thank
Arlene's
you.
neighbor,
Thank
but then we're a little loud, Arlene, you know. I'm sorry, but we like dogs. You know, but
well, you fit in Louisiana really well if you're loud.
I know. We love your coonhounds too, man. You guys have got some beautiful dogs.
Oh yeah.
But listen, you guys, ladies, you know, Louisiana is such a special place, and I know Wilbert's on the next show, but just touch on. Okay, we've touched on, you know, all the different sites, but I'm going to go back to that question. Someone's knocking on your door. What are you going to do? What activity or attraction are you taking to just for an afternoon visit? So it can involve cocktails, is my point. Drive-through daiquiris or whatever. What are you going to do, and what are you going to eat? So let's start with you, Arlene. I mean, come on, meat pies have to be part of this conversation.
Well, we can have many meat pies for an appetizer, but I think I'm going to go with today. It's getting cold now, you know, like really, really, really cold. So I'm going to go for some gumbo. Or some etouffee, and there's this dish at the at Merci Beaucoup. It's the Cajun baked potato, and it's a baked potato with crawfish etouffee on top, and then they put a jumbo fried shrimp. So that's what I'm feeling like today.
Where would you take someone coming in just from out of town real quick? Where are you going to take them just to get a sense of Natchitoches in a little time?
Because it's so cold and windy, we're going to stay in the car and we're going to do a road trip. So we can travel a little bit along the Jefferson-Highway and see some of the historic district and some of the historic bed and breakfast and historic homes and our famous Front Street where Captain Frederick's is, because, you know, that's part of the Jefferson-Highway. But I'd like to take them on the Cane River Creole National Heritage Area tour, too, to see the national parks. We have 2 national park sites. A day like today when it's cold and windy, you want to stay warm, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a road trip in the car.
Well, I
do a windshield tour, huh?
Yeah, you can. And you can go in. You could go in Melrose Plantation in some of the buildings and stay warm, and you can go to the Louisiana Sports Museum and stay warm. I mean, you know, remember we went on that like ice road after we saw you this year. It was in Texas that gave us the ice, but not you.
Oh, we had some really, they had some ice storms.
You didn't want us to go. You're like, Nancy, Lisa, you stay in Natchitoches. We're like, we got to go. We don't want to go, but we have to go. But it was crazy.
How's the Christmas festival going?
Oh, Christmas festival. Great. Yeah, this is the time right now to see the Christmas lights. So the lights will be up till January 6th. We turn them on November 19th. We've been having fireworks every Saturday. And we've got 2 more fireworks show, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. But, yeah, I mean, oh, my gosh, the crowds have been great. So that's even during the weeknights, a lot of the businesses and people in town are saying even during the week they're amazed to see the number of people, downtown to see the lights.
Christmas is happening. Everybody's back on the road. Trust me, they're back on the road, and you all need to go back to driving school. Just saying. But honestly, I want people to know that we do a show with Arlene every third Tuesday covering Natchitoches. Our recent one was with Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, kind of talking about travel and tourism in Louisiana for 2023. You can see that on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/Big Blend Radio or @Big Blend Radio, however they're doing it now. Or just go to Blend Radio and TV. You'll find that. BlendRadioandTV.com. But Shirley, what are you eating?
Yes, ma'am.
And where are you going with your friends or your family?
I am eating shrimp scampi over angel hair pasta. Just my favorite shrimp dish, and you all know that we have got the best seafood in Louisiana that can be found anywhere. So a little French bread, a nice big salad, and a glass of white wine to go with that. It's so good it'll make you slap your grandma.
Oh. My grandma might pinch me back.
I know. I was just going to say.
That would be what my mother would do.
Yeah. Right. And where are you going to go for an activity? Or you better do the activity before the wine.
Yeah, before the wine, we're going to go to the Kent Plantation House.
Oh, thank you.
And it's a Creole-style plantation built in 1800. And it shows what the plantation life was like in central Louisiana at the turn of the century. Has all the outbuildings that go with it, from the milk shed to the slave quarters and the outdoor kitchen and the barn and the carriage house and everything that go with the plantation home. Our tour guides are all dressed in period dress. They do open hearth cooking so that you can taste how the food tasted when it was cooked on the open hearth. It's a really great tour, and
you
really
get to learn about sugarcane too.
Yes, you do. It has It has a replica of a sugar mill, and actually every November they actually make sugar and cane syrup at the plantation home there in the mill. So lots of history right there, and gracious Southern hospitality.
Love it. Everyone, again, you can keep up with Shirley and Alexandria. Go to their website. Shirley, it's AlexandriaPinevilleLA.com, right? For everyone to go to.
That is correct.
And then you got to go to Natchitoches, Louisiana. So go to Natchitoches.com. That's NATCHITOCHES.
Sounds like the Mickey Mouse
Wonderful.
Yes, and you got to go there. Natchitoches is not pronounced the same way it is spelled. And then the Jefferson-Highway. Everybody, Jefferson-Highway.org is the place. Keep up with us every fourth Thursday. We do our show on the highway on January 2023. We'll be focusing on the conference. You already heard parts of it. That's going to be happening in Mason City. In Iowa, it's going to be awesome. Roger, thank you for everything and helping put everyone together on this show. Not this one right now, but the one next to. So thank you so much, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure, and great to hear a lot of friends on the highway tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Arlene, for everything and to roping us into the highway so that we can go down another rabbit hole. We appreciate it.
Yes, because we really need
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Take care, everybody. Merry Christmas. We're going to close with a song. You know, we got to do New Orleans, so we're going to play a song called Nola Rolls. It's by John Roniger. You can catch him in New Orleans if he's not touring Europe. JohnRonigerMusic.com. That's John with no H, because that's how he rolls. So JohnRonigerMusic.com. Here it is. Nola Rolls. Take care, everybody. Happy holidays.
Care, guys.
Stay safe.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Good night.
I've been to Paris, Texas, Rome, Mississippi, Vienna, VA, London, Tennessee, Kingston, Kingsport, Jackson, and Queens, but they can't hold a candle to New Orleans. Oh, where the Mardi Gras Indians dance in the light of their flambeaux, and the Holy Trinity's in the bottom of every cup of gumbo. There's king cake, get up high, trumpet and bone. That's the way that Nola rolls. I've seen the Sunset Strip, done the City of Lights, bit the Big Apple, ate the Mile High Pie, Tinseltown, Chinatown, big sky, but it ain't nothing like walking in a second line. Oh, where the Mardi Gras Indians dance in the light of their flambeaux, and the Holy Trinity's in the bottom of every cup of gumbo. There's king cake, gator pie, trumpet and bone. That's the way that Nola rolls. When tuba fat comes to take me away, to shuck me some oysters outside of the Mardi Gras